Hey, welcome to Main Pod Girl.
This is a podcast made by popheads for popheads.
Every episode, y'all can check in with us while we discuss your burning questions, as well as what's happening in pop music.
Throughout the series, we'll be chiming in on our favorite recent discussion threads and diving into the latest pop emergencies.
Hey everyone, you should know me by now, but my name is Sola. I'm an alt-pop R&B artist and songwriter, and yeah, I'm just here chilling. Yeah.
You almost sounded annoyed at that.
I did. I'm not annoyed.
Like, if you don't know who Sola is at this point, you should.
You're living under a rock.
I was just trying to do something new this time, and then I realized that it just wasn't a vibe. It just wasn't.
Not vibing. Okay, well, I'm AJ Marks. You should definitely know who I am by now at this point. I, too, am an artist and songwriter.
Incredible stuff. We also have not one, but two super special guests joining us today. They make up none other than Fueled by Ramen's indie pop sensation, MisterWives. It's Mandy and Will.
Hello.
Yeah, you definitely don't know who we are, but we're 1/3 of MisterWives. Can you believe it? There's
the
4 more
1/3
people in our band.
So many people.
We're a real band with a lot of bodies. But
yes,
we're so honored to be here on your podcast and get to hang with you guys. We've not talked to people in a very long time.
So let's kick this episode off by going over what music you cannot miss out on. What is everyone listening to right now?
Ooh, Noga Erez. Sorry, I was rude and I went first.
No, you go first. No, please, go.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was so excited because I just discovered Noga Erez. Do you know her?
No.
What's her name?
Noga Erez. Her album came out, I think, a few months ago. It's called Kids. It's some of the best new music I've heard. Yeah, it's kind of the kind of music that makes you inspired and remind you why you love music and how creative and innovative and fun it can be. I highly recommend listening to her, everybody.
Ooh, no, I don't know her.
So cool.
Well, I followed her on Spotify now.
Nice.
Right. Queuing now.
I take your recommendation seriously.
Thank you.
Mine is an album. I hadn't yet fully listened to Demi Devil by Ashniko, and I'm a big Ashniko fan. So I have been sleepwalking fully, and I checked it out. It's really great. I really like it, and highly recommend, if people have been sleepwalking like me, to stop being that way and go listen.
Okay, I need to write this down.
Wild energy.
Wild blue-haired energy.
Ooh, my favorite kind of energy.
Right?
What about you, Will?
I have just discovered the Middle Kids. They are from Australia.
Ooh.
There's one question that I heard on the radio, or one song that I heard on the radio that's called Questions. That word fumble makes sense now. But I thought that was that's an excellent song. And then the record that they've just released is also exceptional. So highly recommend checking that out if you haven't heard of it.
Okay. Well, I've got so many people to follow on Spotify now. I personally have been listening to, well, she's definitely not new or unknown, but Lorde just announced her 3rd album's coming soon. And so I've just been going through her discography, just kind of getting all hyped for it. Mandy, I know she's one of your favorite artists.
Oh my God. Yeah. Can you see me? I'm freaking out and I don't know what to do with my hands. Zero chill.
What are you hoping for in terms of what direction she goes in?
Because it's been a while.
Yeah, I know. A Melodrama was so good. How do you follow that album up? But if anyone's going to follow it up, it's going to be Lorde. So I have complete faith in whatever she does. I'm going to love, and I'm sure it will be different. If it's not different, I'll still love it. I feel like either path. I'm just...
It's still Jack Antonoff, so...
Yeah. Solar Power, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I am...
Although it looks like Solar Flower, just because the P definitely looks like an F on that, in that font.
That is what I thought it was. I was confused.
Solar Flower is also a good single name.
Solar Flower sounds like a MisterWives song.
It does. That's the next single. We have the scoop here, folks. They haven't written it yet, but it's coming.
Speaking of MisterWives, just because they just popped into the brain,
for no reason,
another band you should check out, MisterWives. Love them. Found them. Actually, I was going to say found them recently. 2014 was not recently. So
I mean, it feels like it sometimes though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels like it was like yesterday, but also 3 million years ago.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
So well said.
Yeah.
We have all aged about 1 million years in the last 5 years anyway. So
Especially this year. This year shouldn't count because it's aged you
Yes.
like 100 years.
exactly. I saw like a tweet early on in the pandemic that said, all right, everyone's 20s now lasts till they're 32.
That's so true. Oh my God, that's great.
Oh, please let that be true.
Yeah. I know, right?
But to what you're saying, AJ, oh my God, 2014. I'm like, we just put out Reflections like a couple years ago. And I saw like some video went somewhat viral on TikTok with a girl like listening to Reflections being like, I would have joined any cult for this song and shaved my eyebrows to hear this again. Which was hilarious.
God.
But then I started,
Wait, that's
it was hilarious. And I was like, don't do that. But I started reading all the comments and they were like, oh my, like the comments aged me so much. They're like, remember when this was single of the week, or I got this as a single from Starbucks.
Wait, I was actually just about to say that's how I found you guys, a single of the week on iTunes.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh, this slaps. And I actually remember I recorded, maybe this is 2015 or 2016 though. I recorded a cover of it with my friend.
Oh my God, send it to me, please, if you still have it.
Well, I don't know if it still exists, but if it does, I'll send it over. It was with my friend Rin, and she has like the most beautiful voice. And yeah, so I've been jamming your songs since 2014's Reflections. Let's get into our real pod girl shit. I want to know, in which ways do you think your music's evolved since your debut?
Well, for starters, I wrote that song when I was 17, so 28
what? Holy
now.
shit. No fucking way.
Yeah, I've lived a lot of
God.
life from that point. How has it evolved? I mean, I guess just... first of all, I sound like a baby. I hear that and I'm like, wow, my balls have not dropped yet. When we recorded Reflections, we sing that song, like how many steps down did we lower
Yeah, I
it?
think it's more, might as well be a full octave.
So there's that, just of like the physical anatomy of your body changing, of like my voice sounds different. Like my register is evolved, or I can't sing that high anymore. And just the writing content too. There's just, the heartbreak I experienced when writing Reflections when I was 17 is nowhere near the heaviness of going through a divorce, So there's been
Just a little bit different.
just
yeah.
a little bit different. And just life changes, the music changes. I feel like the thing that hasn't changed though is me and the guys' love for music and the vehicle it allows for self-expression, and whatever we're feeling is what the music is, and it's just a time capsule of our life, which is really cool to go back to listen to. Not that I ever listen to our music because I'm like, I can't hear this. I don't know if you guys are that way of hearing
No, same.
old work.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is terrible.
I only listen to the songs that aren't out yet because those are the songs that get me hyped.
Right.
It's either I'll go months or like a year without listening to my music, and then just an entire car ride of only my music. You know what I mean? Like, it's like those, why you just have to be in the mood for it.
For me, if I want to like listen objectively to like a song of mine, I have to, or I don't have to, but I'll put it into Logic and then just slap a like pitch shifter on it and just make me sound like a man so that I don't have to like hear myself.
Mandy, you can do that and just slap a pitch shifter on it and see what it would have sounded like 6 years ago.
Exactly.
Good trick. Or we should just have Will sing it, because that's my pitch
Reflections
shifter.
of you. Maybe a Showtimey version.
I was going to say, Will, have your balls dropped since that happened? Or is it
Yeah,
just
my
Mandy?
voice used to be up here when I first met Mandy. Like, hey, you want to start a band?
And then the second album, I started talking like this. I would say that kind of like what we were doing in that last little exercise where we were all exchanging, stuff that we're listening to. Like, we get to do that with not only everyone in the band, but also like in the crew, like everyone we work with. So I think that definitely inspires us and, shapes the way that we approach the music as well as like our own instruments. And so I think that's always like an ongoing conversation. And someone will say like, oh, check out this bass line or listen to this drum part or whatever it is. And I think that has tightened us because we all now kind of listen to similar things because we're so heavily influenced by one another.
Nice.
Except for like what I listen to a lot of the time. No one.
Yeah, we're not
shares.
influenced by Primus.
No one shares my enthusiasm for Primus. You're all missing out.
No, actually, you should move to Britain because there are definitely some Primus fans out here.
Are there really? I mean,
yeah.
we're all over the place.
That's true.
We're hiding in the shadows.
I love the we.
Yeah.
It's taking ownership of it.
I appreciate the band very much because like the chant at their shows is Primus sucks. So I'm like, wow, these guys really don't take themselves, which is always great because people who like aren't familiar with the band, they're like, why is everyone saying that? That seems so, why are you even at the show if you're saying that? I'm like, you silly idiots.
So not to harp too much on the past, but I heard that y'all formed obviously like in late 2012 because Mandy wanted to do an 80s cover band for your birthday. Is that a true story?
That is it is a true story.
Did the birthday party band ever happen?
Yeah, we were too drunk to remember how that show went, but we definitely...
So it was awesome.
So good.
It was great.
Yeah.
So it was good.
That
Yeah.
was actually we ever played. Yeah, I was... How old was I at that time? I don't know.
I think you were 18 because you were definitely either 18 or 19.
Yeah. Well, I was young.
You mean 21?
I was very young.
Oh,
yeah, 21.
She was
yeah.
responsibly
Good catch.
partying at 21. Yeah. No, it was in Britain.
And
Okay, then you're fine.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I was living on my own and my apartment had no furniture whatsoever. And I was like, this apartment is just begging for a rager. And I thought it would be fun to do an 80s themed prom.
You were signed after your very first show by Photo Finish Records. Like, that's a crazy achievement.
It was all downhill from there.
Beautiful.
You peaked early.
We peaked early. No, I know that story sounds so obnoxious. Me, Will, and ATN were a band for quite some time before that show, like making demos in our closet. We put it on SoundCloud. That started to get picked up by some blogs, which is where our manager found us. And so we were like, oh shit, like we got to get a band together because it was just the three of us and we were playing with some like rotating musicians and we needed a guitarist and a keys player. And so ATN brought in former bandmates that he once played with for this gig. It was the Canal Room. And I guess Jared was coming to like see our show and he brought Mac Alley from Photo Finish and Marquis, our booking agent. All of them came to this one show and we've been with those people pretty much ever since. I mean, we'd still be with Photo Finish if there wasn't a bunch of label nonsense that happened with Republic, picked them up, dropped them, kept us. But we wanted to stay with Photo Finish forever. But right, Will? That's how it goes. And the show actually made us look way better because there was like some 90s party that happened right after our set. So there was just like a shit ton of people. So I think they thought like, wow, this band really draws a big crowd.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's so sick, actually.
We tricked them.
That's
Yeah.
I mean, that's what everyone's doing in this business. Let's be real. We're all tricking each other.
Seemed way too good to be true because everyone that we were speaking to was absolutely shit-faced. So, like, I was like, okay, yeah, we're going to get a record deal, man. That sounds awesome. And then the next day, Jared was like, so I think we're going to get a deal from Photo Finish. And then we actually went and met with them, and it was great.
How do you think that had like set you up for today, like being with Photo Finish for so long up until, this most recent record?
It set the bar high because we were like, wow, this is what we were very spoiled that was our first label we were signed to because everybody really gives a shit at that label. And they're all still our really close friends like G and Drew and Mac Alley and Marquis. All of those people are still our family and everybody worked really hard for the album and for us. And it was such a fun experience. Like it was a small team, but everybody wore a million hats and put in above and beyond for us. And so I think that messed us up because basically after we signed to other people, it wasn't the same way. Until now we're on Fueled By, and it's nice to be back with a team that really cares and loves the music and believes in us. And so it's been an absolute roller coaster. But starting with Photo Finish, I think made us be like, oh, this is tangible. This is real. People at labels do actually care because as the myth goes, most of the time that's not the truth, which is fair to say. So I think that's my takeaway, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think, the first conversations with Jared, Matt Galley, and Marquis were really refreshing because up until that point when Mandy, Etienne, and myself had just been trying to do things like you just get people who are giving you advice like, oh, you got to do it this way. You got to play shitty clubs. You got to do XYZ things. And we were like, what are you talking about? Like, and then Jared was kind of one of the first people to be like, no, there's no rules. Like every artist is different. And I think the team that we had created at that time, was really serendipitous because that was really exactly our approach, which was like, we don't want to follow a formula. We're never going to do it that way. And so we didn't. And now we're here.
Before we signed with Photo Finish, we met Jared. Remember that one guy who wanted to manage us, Will, who was you're going to...
dickhead.
There was a few. There was one guy that told
sucks.
us, you're going to tour for 5-10 years and play to empty rooms over and over again. And, that's just what it's going to be. And you're not going to go far. And that was the first and only time I ever ripped a cigarette after that meeting. Because I was so
in front of the Staples right before we made business cards.
Yeah,
we were like, this is going to work.
And then I had another manager. He was like, you have to choose between me or the band because bands don't make it. And so I was given an ultimatum of I have to choose this manager or choose the band. Obviously, I chose the band. So we went through the ringer of really crappy people who didn't believe in us and made us feel like, oh, is this ever going to happen? And so meeting with people like Jared and Photo Finish made us feel like, oh, no, we can do this. And having people on our team that would go to bat for us and for our music set us up in the beginning to have hope in an industry that isn't full of it.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Surround yourself by people who actually believe in you, actually want you to succeed, and just don't see you as just another product.
Exactly.
So speaking of products, you released your third studio album, Superbloom. By the way, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. We deserve it.
It's 19 tracks long, which is almost like a double album.
2 for 1.
What made you decide on having 19 songs there?
Oh, man. Well, I wrote about 100 songs.
That's fair. That's fair.
I just had been through so much that I thought it would be a disservice to what I had gone through, and a disservice to all the music that was made if I tried to condense it and make it really short and sweet. And so I wanted it to take you on a journey from beginning to end. And I feel like a lot of people, that was something that I was like, I know this is crazy. 19 songs is not what you want to hear. It's too long. No one has time for that.
Actually, we were impressed that it was an hour. Even though mathematically it makes sense.
I didn't realize it was 19 songs until Sola pointed it out to me this morning.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, really? And I didn't believe her so much that I actually checked it. Because I was like, how is that 19 songs? It just it flows really well.
Thank you.
And I was like the confused lady with the
charts,
with the charts and the graphs and stuff. That was me this morning.
Yeah.
What was the intention with the track listing? Was there a story that you wanted to convey specifically that made you choose that specific order?
Yeah, absolutely. Which I was told to put Superbloom and all the happy songs at the top of the album, and I was like, I'm sorry, we just can't do that. Then it makes no sense. Imagine if it starts with all the happy.
The end's got to go first,
which makes way more sense. Come on, people.
Get on Mandy's level here.
Yeah, the journey is, it's of me going through a divorce was just a tumultuous heartbreak that was incredibly hard to process. And in that, I lost myself and hit rock bottom. And it's all about finding my way and finding love for myself and super blooming on the other side. And I actually went to the Superbloom. I visited it a few years ago while I was knee-deep in writing the record, and I was going through a really tough time, and my sister flew out to be with me, and we went to see the poppies because my grandma loved poppies, and we wanted to go and honor her. And I was standing there amongst this botanical phenomenon that all these flowers aren't supposed to grow in the desert, and I was crying hysterically, and I just felt so moved by the metaphor and what that felt like in my life of growing through unexpected places and through treacherous places and coming out the other side and blooming. And so that's the whole journey the album takes you on. You have to really earn it to get to the bops. You gotta really You gotta work for it.
Just like you had to work for
There
it.
we go. See, you get it.
So I read an old interview where you said, Mandy, that you...
Oh, no.
No,
What did I say?
We're going to cancel you on the podcast.
No. No, this is, you bring in a shell of a song and then everyone kind of like fleshes out the parts together. And then like with Etienne having been the producer formerly and not being able to have him as a writing partner for this album, you had to readjust your approach for Superbloom. So I'm wondering, like, how was it similar? How was it different? And did you all like learn anything about yourselves creatively through this new process?
Yeah, ATM was holding her back. That's what's pretty fucking obvious.
Aren't you in his house right now?
Yeah, he was sitting right next to me, but surprisingly, he left. I wonder why.
It's okay. We can laugh
Who knows
about
where
it.
he is?
We're still great friends.
Yeah.
We can laugh about it. Everybody
Yeah.
else is always so nervous. And I'm like, no, we're laughing. We're okay. It's fine.
Good.
Things we've learned. Yeah, like you said, Sola, I had to try new ways of writing music because it didn't feel healthy for me and Nate to make the record together while we were in the process of splitting up. And I never really did co-writes before. The few that I did were ones that really turned me off to co-writing, where it was like going in, trying to make a hit, where people were like, oh, what song is big on the radio? Let's just copy and paste that song. Let's not even use like rhyming generators. People would put in a word that would come out with a whole phrase. And that's how they were writing the songs. And so I was really, yeah. True story.
Well, I have never heard of that.
never
Like, I
heard
use
of
my
that.
rhyming dictionary.
Yeah, which is fine.
But,
Which is like
Rhyme Zone is my best
Same.
friend, but that's...
putting in a word, like what word do you think is cool? And then putting it in and it would generate like a whole fucking phrase. And then they would just continue to do that and make a whole song. And I was like, this is too, like, this is not what music is about for me, for those people.
Yeah, I would not co-write if that was my experience
Yeah,
either.
and this was way back, and so I was always really stubborn about, like, I hate co-writing. I even told Jack Antonoff one time, I ran into him in the airport, and he was like, what do you think of co-writes? And I was like, I fucking hate them. And now I'm like, why did I say that? What is wrong with you, man?
Jack Antonoff was like, hey, how would you feel co-writing a song? And you're like, I fucking hate it. No, go away.
Yeah.
Get on your plane.
My biggest regret in life. This was the first time that I was like, okay, I got to go work with other people. So I started just chipping away at, okay, what are artists that I really love? Who are people that are just friends that I've worked with touring, like Dylan from Floor and the Sir Sly guys and K-Flay. And I was like, okay, work with friends, because that's always fun, no matter what. Even if you don't come away with a song, you're like, I had a great day. So I started small, and then I started to get to work with people like Whitney Phillips and Tim Pignotta and all of these like bigger names, which I was so nervous to do, but created some of my favorite songs, like Stories. We made that song, and I was so nervous for that. And it wound up being like the most cathartic experience. And it just was really fun to explore new territories and realize, oh, I can do this. I don't have to just be one-dimensional, and I have to write all the songs, and the band and I only have to do it. Like, it's great to bring in other creatives. Like, how wonderful to have other perspective and have people in the moments where I'm like, oh, I can't say that. That's too personal. And they're like, no, bitch, you better say it. Like, that to me is so nice to have, other people rooting for the song to go in other ways that maybe you wouldn't necessarily take it, because I'm like so harsh on myself.
Co-writes are dangerous, though, only because once you start co-writing, it's so hard to stop.
That's where I'm in now.
Because it's so...
It's its own gateway
like,
drug.
once I started co-writing, I was like, it's so hard to like think of a song by myself
God.
like bring it to someone. When that's how I used to do everything. So now I'm kind of like, oh, in the pandemic, that's been a little bit of a struggle for me.
Oh my God. Retweet.
I was going to say, you were talking about some of your favorite artists. So for anyone who's not familiar with a Pop Heads rate, we take a selection of albums and give each song a score from 1 to 10, but you can only give 1 0 and 1 11. We just had a rate on Pop Heads with some of Mandy's favorite artists. The albums were Haim's Women in Music Part 3, Phoebe Bridgers' Punisher, and Fiona Apple's Fetch the Bolt Cutters. Mandy and Will, what would your 11 be of those albums?
I think Haim wins the 11 for me.
I was going to say that as well.
There's one answer, And it is Steps, but I'll let you say what your answer would be.
Now I'm in it was a big one for me. That's the one I always go to first when listening to it, but Steps as well. I agree with you. Honestly, can't go wrong on that album. That album really carried me through quarantine. I'm trying to be more decisive because I'm the most indecisive person in the world. So I was like, just say whatever is at the tip of my tongue. Garden Song, also 11. Okay. See, I can't pick one.
Okay, there you go.
Oh Christ, I don't remember names of songs at all.
Sing it for us, Will.
I kind of only listen to albums. Like I don't think there's ever really an instance where I'm like, I want to hear this song. I'll just throw on an entire album and just kind of leave it on.
So your 11 is all of Haim.
Yes, I would say that. And having seen them, you guys didn't stay around for that, right? We were in Osheaga.
Yeah, you guys.
Oh, it was wild. Yeah. So Murph, the sax player, and I stayed. We played Osheaga, and then we got to stay the next day and saw Haim and Radiohead. I think was headlining that day, and it was just what an experience.
Ooh.
Up From a Dream. I also really love that song. Yeah, I know that's probably not like any of the singles, but that one always I'm like, it just puts me in the best mood. I love the whole feel.
Oh, actually, I was going to say, your debut album was on a Pop Heads rate. It was the indie pop rate up against Churches and Purity Ring. And you got no zeros.
What?
Excellent.
It's going to make me cry. I'm not kidding.
I was going to say, I feel like there's always a zero.
Yeah, there's always a zero.
I don't believe you guys.
Thank you,
They
Internet.
like us.
Can they go back now, after this interview? So I feel like no, it's locked in.
Set in stone afterwards.
Thank God. Yeah, it's going to be on the resume.
Since, Will, you said you're an albums man, what is the album that you've been going to recently?
I found that I think during quarantine, in an effort to just grasp onto things that are familiar, I've just kind of been listening to a lot of older records, whether it be like the Beatles or a lot of Zeppelin for some reason.
There's a lot of Beatles where I'm in right now because I'm in Liverpool. I'm literally in the Cavern Quarter.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
so I am where all the Beatles stuff is.
A dream.
Actually, Sola wrote with Paul McCartney.
Oh, is he in the Beatles? Wait, really?
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, I can't even imagine being in the same room with a man like that.
It was wild. It was wild. It was for one of my songs, and I know.
Wow,
and,
good for you. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Thanks.
He made some changes, and Sola did not take them.
No, I took
he know?
most of them. I took most of them. He suggested one lyric change, and I was like, no.
What a legend.
I thought that I was going to be really nervous, but then I met eyes with him outside the room, and he was like in double denim, and I was like, oh, he's just a grandpa in double denim.
Now is time for our questions for the culture. So these questions are asked on Popheads by real users. They're not planted by us.
It's true.
Unless we just, every user in the sub is our alt. In light of Lil Nas X's Montero music video, user JX Wolf asks, what music videos would you consider a moment? Like got people talking, riled up a particular group of people, defined the singer's artistry or persona, etc. What other controversial music videos were iconic for you?
I would say right off the top of my head, Like a Prayer. Because I remember seeing that as a kid and being like, what is going on here? This is crazy.
There was an uproar for that video. When you blend religion, race, and sex, like that's how you get the angriest people out.
Didn't she get banned from Italy?
Yeah, I think the Vatican was like, yo, no. Yeah.
It's crazy.
She might have been excommunicated if they still do that.
Some user was like, when you get the Pope to ban you based on a music video, like that's legitimately God tier.
She walked so everybody else could run. Like, I feel like she really liberated sexuality and commentary on race and religion and all of that stuff. She was like at the forefront of that, and banned from like a Pepsi ad, like withdrew from having that song as the sync for it because it was like too scandalous. And I'm like, and now we have songs about wet ass pussy.
Do you guys remember famous Kanye West's music video?
Yes, with all the wax figures of the celebrities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't like that one.
Like even as a video, like I feel like it made more sense as a picture because you look at the actual video and it's just basically just, I mean, it's not really a video, really, right? It's just more of like a moving picture. I know that sounds like I'm
so poetic.
from the 1940s.
Back in my day, we used to just have these. There was a man who would play the piano.
That photo is like the Last Supper for our generation. I feel like that's like the modern The Last Supper.
That is accurate.
The Last Supper. Speaking of The Last Supper, God as a Woman by Ariana Grande, that music video is ridiculous.
Just that song was controversial.
Yeah, that is a brilliant song. I can't believe that had backlash. That's so silly. I'm like, it's 2021. How is that still like something that's like God is a man and we're still fighting those absurd
I don't know. Well, I guess
views.
it was 2018?
2018, yeah.
So, apparently God was a man back then.
God was a man back then.
Times have changed.
God had to step down and get replaced.
He's a flying spaghetti monster.
Exactly. Mrs. Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Mandy, you were talking about Madonna like paving the way with her music videos. One of the people that she definitely paved the way for in terms of scandalous music videos was Miley Cyrus. I remember the Wrecking Ball music video. I think her music videos in that era were just like, I mean, they were crazy, but I feel like that kind of was an era that kind of defined her as an artist. I think when we think of Miley Cyrus, we think of those songs rather than, I don't know, maybe you think of Party in the USA.
No, yeah, that video was like scandalous. And we loved it so much that ATN, for Halloween, he was the Wrecking Ball and I was Miley Cyrus. So I was on his shoulders the whole night.
Oh my God.
And Will, you were Robin.
I was Robin Thicke, yes.
Thicke, yeah. Oh my
that is his name.
So y'all were both riding the Wrecking Ball.
Yeah.
Well, Eight wouldn't let me on his shoulders.
Oh, wow.
Also, I was wearing Mandy's pants, so if I was on his shoulders, the pants would have ripped immediately. It was uncomfortable.
It's just so crazy that music videos are like taboo and scandalous and like cause so much controversy. And I'm just like, if you don't like it, it's not for you. Don't watch it. Like, let people be liberated if that's what they have to say. It's a form of expression. It's commentary on society, on what they've gone through. I'm like, I just never understand why people get so upset about something. I'm like, if you don't like it, just pay no mind to it. But all these people are like, the devil is going to reach our kids if they watch this. And I'm like, which I love. The Lil Nas X like flipped it and was like, okay, cool, I'm the devil then. Which was brilliant.
Exactly.
I thought that was so
Lap dancing
brilliant.
on the devil.
And then stealing his horns.
Yes.
Also, I thought that's the funniest video to come out of COVID because he had no cast. It's all just him. And I'm like, that's a pretty good music video to represent what we experienced, that he had to play all the characters in the video. That's
true, actually. I didn't even think about that, but yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Some of the videos, I understand the controversy, like, bitch better have my money. I'm like, yeah, that is, to anyone, I think, a shocking video. It's just pretty brutal, especially from a pop artist like Rihanna.
Right.
With so many of the other, like, music videos that are controversial and I don't know, getting to kind of the point that Mandy was making, Tom Araya, the lead singer of Slayer, I think says it really well, where he's like, Slayer. I don't think I've ever said his name and Slayer at the same time, but he's actually like apparently a pretty devout Christian, and so his whole thing is like, well, if all this imagery and stuff that they use in their music like is bothering you that much, then maybe you should question your own faith, because it's not as strong as you think it is. If like you have to get really upset that they're utilizing it, or their videos are quote unquote controversial. So, and it's also weird to me. It's like that's within music videos, but then you also have films that are just like violence for the sake of violence. Like you have an entire Saw franchise where it's like the whole point is to watch people be brutally murdered, but people aren't up in arms over that. Instead, they're flocking to the theaters.
It's because music is so important.
Yeah.
So let's move on to song superlatives. This is our section where we go through like an American high school yearbook, and, the graduating class gets to vote for their peers, let them really know what they think about them on a number of different categories like best dressed, most school spirit. So we thought, why not do that with the 19 children that you have on Superbloom?
The 19 children.
Ouch.
Talk about Octomom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to give you a chance to give your songs from the album their own senior superlatives. So let's start with the first one, which is Life of the Party. What song on Superbloom is Life of the Party?
Life of the Party for me, Love Me True. We did a live stream during quarantine, and it was the first time we got to like work with dancers, and I had a whole girl gang, and we did a really fun choreography for Love Me True, and everybody was just like head to toe in pink, and it felt like a very ABBA Cher moment with a bunch of disco balls. And so that to me was like, that was a party to me.
Suddenly it was Super Trooper.
Yes. 100%.
Yes.
Great song.
What about you, Will? What's life of the party for you?
I think, I really like It's My Turn as a party song. Okay, I thought,
Yeah.
Every time, I remember even talking about like the music video for that. I remember thinking it would just be like a bunch of weird ass dancing thing. Unfortunately, that idea got vetoed.
What is the song that you would say is the most changed?
The most changed, I'd have to say, so Over the Rainbow started off as a pretty like somber song on the guitar and it ended in a crazy, chaotic, just distorted guitar solos, and the song just is like punches you in the face, which is pretty funny to think it started off like very somber and quiet. But I heard a voice memo what the song originally was, and I was like, how the hell did we end up with the song we have now? So I think that one has transformed the most.
Yeah, I do remember hearing that for the first time, and I was just like, what the fuck is happening? Because it's just like, you had played it while we were working on other stuff, and I heard it, and I was like, we need to start from the beginning. I didn't know what was happening, and then so we like restarted after 10 seconds, and it's just a swift kick in the face.
Yep.
You are an angry girl, is what I was thinking at that time.
Angry.
I was like, she is fucking pissed at you.
Okay, so what do you think is the most likely to succeed?
I did always feel like Superbloom was special. I remember all the meetings we had about, what song should we go to radio with, blah, blah, blah. I always was fighting for Superbloom, but it's kind of left of center sonically, like it's not an alt rock song at all. And pop radio is hard to break into. So I was always like, I think Superbloom really has a chance just because of, it sounds different. It sounds fresh, and the message I just feel like is so relatable no matter what you've gone through in your life. I feel like everybody can hear that song, and hopefully it resonates with them. And yeah, we didn't go to radio with Superbloom, but it is the most streamed song off the album. I think it's at like 50 million streams or something crazy like that. And I was like, see, you should have listened to me.
So you
should have
knew.
listened to me.
Without the push.
Exactly. Which I'm like, okay, there's something organic, there's something natural there that is resonating without, it being pushed on radio or anything like that, which is a testament, I think, to the song and the message.
We are on to our last song superlative. So this one is just the classic best all around.
I'm going to go off of, so we didn't get to play the album live yet, the full album, but we did have a few songs out while on our last tour. And Why it made me cry every single night. Like the crowd screamed that song together. I was like, oh, we're all going through it together. I'm not the only one. And so, yeah, I feel like that song to me just holds a really special place. It was one of the first songs I wrote for the album, which was really scary because I was like, oh no, I'm being really vulnerable and really honest about something I'm not ready to share with people. So I think just knowing that I got through that, and then I was able to write a whole album of 19 songs about everything that happened, and that was the song that like set it all off and let it all happen, to me is really special. And then getting to apply that to what the live show was, and we'd close it out with the set, and it just was, I don't know, it was a religious experience every night. I seriously would cry every single time we got to the bridge because of the crowd and because everybody was just like, I couldn't hear myself sing, which is so beautiful. That's what the magic of music is, you know?
Magic of music, being deaf.
Yeah.
I'm actually slightly disappointed because I was going to say the exact same song and thought it was going to be totally topsy-turvy. And everyone would be like, well, why did you pick that? But very much the same thing as, getting to play it live. And I just remember hearing that song for the first time, and then thinking about recording our third album and just being in, I can actually put myself there right now, just thinking about that. And so it'll always hold a special place in my heart. And obviously it's the same with Mandy, but getting to play that live, it's like the only hint of, getting Superbloom or having played anything from Superbloom live so far. So we've been holding on to that, I guess, with our Our dear hearts.
For dear life.
So that is our song superlatives. And now we're going to move on to the last segment of the pod. This is our top 5. And this week, because our guests are MisterWives, we are going to do our top 5 Fueled by Ramen acts besides MisterWives. So it's always a classic.
Can't include yourself.
The guest can never be included because then it's just too difficult and too much pressure on the guest to not choose themselves. So, no, I'm kidding.
I would never. I'm not.
I would absolutely in a fucking heartbeat. I would have been like number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Everyone else go fuck yourselves. We are fueled by ramen as far as I'm fucking concerned. Get out of here with that shit.
Exactly. This includes not just active Fueled by Ramen bands. These are alumni, inactive bands, artists, what have you. If they were on Fueled by Ramen, they are fair game.
If they just touched Fueled by Ramen,
if they've eaten ramen, then...
All right, so my number 5 is Meet Me at the Altar.
Oh, hell yeah.
Love everything they've put out so far.
Queens.
Garden, especially the acoustic version. Ooh. My number 4 is Lights. My number 3, this is not intentional, but now that I'm seeing it, I'm like, oh, this sounds like it's intentional. It's 303.
Oh, 3 is 303.
Exactly. So my number 2 is Fallout Boy. Oh. And then my number 1 is Paramore.
Yeah.
Adore.
Oh, yeah.
Hayley Williams, fucking incredible.
Both of those albums are chef's kiss.
I'm going to be real with everyone. I was like such a like Warped Tour queen, like Warped Tour bitch when I was like in high school and stuff. Yeah. And so I was like such an angsty little girl. Still angsty little adult. Okay. So my number 5 is A Rocket to the Moon.
Yeah, I don't know this band.
What? Okay.
Am I fired? I'm fired.
No, you're not fired.
We don't need your top 5.
I actually have a tattoo of a lyric by this band called Brighton, which the guitarist of A Rocket to the Moon was the lead singer of Brighton. So I'm like, well, I kind of have to do this. I think I'm probably like the only human on the planet with a Brighton tattoo. My number 4 is Panic at the Disco. My number 3 is Paramore.
Number 3, though, interesting.
3? Who's your 1?
I think I can predict Mandy's number 1.
Number 2 is The Academy Is.
Oh.
The Academy is.
They were like one of my first gigs that I ever went to. My number 1, they weren't around for long, which was very upsetting for me, but I was like fucking obsessed with them. And like all of my friends in high school, we were obsessed with them. And we went to like all of their gigs in the Bay Area where I'm from. And they're a throwback band called This Providence. They only had like 1 or 2 albums, but they were...
You have a tattoo of them?
No.
We're such brats. We've like opened for a lot of the roster on Fueled by Ramen.
I love that.
That's how we got our way in. We're like, we have toured with every single one of your bands. Please let us in.
It's through osmosis.
Some bands, they sleep their way to the top, and this band just, tours their way
Yeah.
to the top.
Shit.
I would say my list, number 5 goes to One OK Rock. Are you familiar with this band?
Yes.
They're awesome.
They're so sick.
Yeah, they were awesome. I went to go see them at Terminal 5. A few of our buddies were opening for them, and they just absolutely slayed it. But the thing that I admired most was the whole play at Terminal 5 was just an absolute mosh pit. It was a madhouse, and someone had fallen over, and the lead singer stopped the song to make sure that person was okay. And I was like, that's awesome.
We love it.
Yeah, because people were leaning against the barricade, so we stopped the show, made sure everyone was taken care of, and then counted right back in and didn't miss a beat. And I was like, you guys are fucking rock and roll.
Pit etiquette. There is such a thing as mosh pit etiquette.
Yeah, and this guy was just looking out for someone who was falling over. I was like, that's just a good guy. So they should be number 1 for that, but whatever, they're 5.
But we're number 1.
But we're number 1. Yeah, we're 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah. Then I went with 4, Young the Giant. I don't think we've ever seen them, have we?
I have.
You must.
I don't know if I have.
Oh, his voice live is unbelievable.
I know. He's killer singer. So good.
Honestly.
It just like booms in person.
Yeah.
Sorry, we've all seen Young the Giant live, and we're just like
Rubbing it in. Yeah, sorry.
we're just bragging.
Yeah. Sorry, Will.
Oh, Will, you wouldn't get it.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's amazing. It's literally like if angels were just like singing in your face. It's just, and I'm like, cool.
Yeah, but you wouldn't
Thanks,
know,
guys.
so.
I've heard it on record. It's a little different. But I would say initially number 3 was going to be Paramore, but then I saw how angry Mandy got when you put her as 3, so I was like, oh shit, I better.
That was almost canceled.
Better fucking move that up the list.
Yeah, take out my hoops.
Yeah, we're putting Panic at the Disco at number 3. We were fortunate enough to tour with them, and then I think it's just awesome that they've had a career for as long, or I guess he's had a career as long as he had.
I mean,
I guess that's really
the
the trick, Mandy. All you got to do is fucking start axing people left and right, so you'll live forever. But my time is near.
So then I think Paramore is your number 2 then,
Paramore
right?
is number 2, yes. We have opened for them once, but, their career speaks for themselves. So, and tied with MisterWives for number 1 is I'm only kidding. Am I? Is 21 Pilots.
Yes.
Nice.
For many reasons, those gentlemen have, taken us out on the road and have, they also had us play at like their last concert for their last album cycle. So they've just been incredibly generous with bringing us on the road and have always been an inspiration. The new album kicks ass. I look forward to seeing what they do, forever. And now Tyler has a kid, so that's cool. I guess that has nothing to do with why they're number 1, but their crew is also exceptional. We've been fortunate enough to get to hang with those guys, and they've always come out to our shows when we're playing in Nashville or Austin, and like loadouts are a breeze because they just take all of our shit and throw it in the van and hang out with us. They're just like the nicest group of guys. So
if they help out with loadout, then so they bought their way to number 1.
They did, yeah.
Through hard labor, yeah.
Hard labor.
So your number 1 is not TOP, it's TOP's crew.
Yeah, literally crew. But it's Tyler and Johnny. What's the guy's name? I forget. I don't know.
Whatever his name is.
All right, Mandy, off to you.
I think Young the Giant would be my 5.
I haven't seen them live.
You have. You gotta see them live.
Yeah, you gotta do that.
Like Cough
Missing
Syrup
out.
and My Body and all those songs were something at a time when we were a band of like, oh shit, like the indie, like that was the best of the best with like indie rock. They're so brilliant, and you just gotta see them live to really.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
really,
that's great.
to
That's
really get
fucking
it, Will.
Awesome. That's such helpful advice.
4, I think, Chloe Moriando. Have you guys listened to her at all?
No.
She's a new artist on Fueled By that is so kick-ass.
Oh, wait, hold on. Body Bag.
Yes!
Body Bag. I know Body Bag, and I know I did not realize this is the same Chloe Moriando that was on Be Around Me by Will Joseph Cook on the remix.
Oh, I don't know this song.
I love Will Joseph Cook.
Number 3 is Floor. I adore Floor.
Great.
Love those guys. We've gotten the chance to tour with them and their album
nice.
Ley Lines and Dancing Around, all just amazing music. And I got the chance to work with Dylan, their bassist, produced a lot of the music off Superbloom, and they're just great friends. Number 2, and more tour mates, 21 Pilots. Their music's so incredible. They've been very gracious to us we've gotten to open for them numerous times. And honestly, they're probably like the reason we have any fans. Their fan base.
Besides iTunes single of the week.
Yeah,
That's true.
besides the Starbucks card and iTunes single and my mom. Their fan base is just so loyal. It's very rare as an opening slot. I'm sure everyone knows to like it's pretty hard to win over the crowd. And
Oh my
their
God, yeah.
fans were just so accepting and welcoming and fun, and like it just didn't even feel like an opening spot, which is crazy because you're like, we're in an arena and all these people should be sitting down eating popcorn and hot dogs, but they're like up raging with us. And then number 1, obviously Paramore.
So that's been our top 5 Fueled by Ramen acts. Yay.
Best label.
That was harder than I thought it was going to be, but
So
I love how
hard.
many names we shouted out.
So thank you so much for joining us. You two have been an absolute delight. Hopefully people who are listening to this, you loved it too. If you want to let us know how we did, if you hated our top 5s, if you loved our top 5s, if you want to give your top 5s,
If you want to rate us,
put
give
it-
us your 11s.
put it in the comments
11s
below. If
only.
you want to give your top 5 MisterWives songs, comment below. Where can people find you?
I live in Queens. Oh.
On all the, social medias, we're just at MisterWives. Yeah, right? Where else can you find us? Spotify, Instagram. I think we're on Facebook. I deleted my
YouTube.
Did you
Facebook,
say
but I think
Spotify?
Spotify.
Spotify, Instagram.
On all those platforms. But thank you. You guys were so fun. Also, killer questions. You're very good at what you do.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Very
Thank you.
fun
Thank you.
questions. This was such a blast for us.
Go on to Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, YouTube, wherever you listen to music. Stream Superbloom. It is out now on all streaming platforms. You'll be stupid to not listen to it.
So dumb. So stupid.
so
You'll
stupid.
regret it.
So dumb.
So dumb. You can follow me at I Am Sola Music on all platforms.
And you can follow me at AJ Marks Official.
I hope all of the listeners give you guys 5 stars. And if you don't, I'll find you.